Hey guys, this is probably gonna be the last video I make before I go to college, because, you know, I leave on Thursday. So, I feel like I could have put out more videos this summer, but I didn't really, I had motivation, but I didn't know what to post about, you know? But today, I want to talk about problematic characters. Because this is something I've noticed a lot more recently, and specifically the redacted fandom. People excusing terrible actions by characters because they think they're attractive. And this happens a lot in every fandom, right? But I feel like more because these are fandoms I'm involved in, and that's why it bothers me so much. And for an overall, I'm not this whole video isn't trying to attack people for there is one person who I think should probably get offline because I really think that they have issues. But we'll get to that later. I've just seen people, defending characters and just excusing the stuff they do for their own fantasies, and I think it's just getting to a point where it's just kind of weird and gross. The first character I'm going to talk about is Alexis from Redacted Audio. Most of these are going to be about Redacted Audio. Alexis is one of the most problematic characters. She is, she assaulted Sam and had no remorse for it, absolutely none. And there are people I have seen who will defend her with their lives because they like her. Then there's the opposite side of the spectrum, where people are I think she's a well-written character, and that's why I like her. I do not support her actions. I like how she is written. Not, you'll understand. But there's this one user I've noticed on Tumblr who, I was just doing some, digging, because, some of my friends heard my rant about this yesterday, but this one user, some of the posts are pretty old, but just the way they talk about Alexis is just gross to me. They talk about her as if oh, she's such a girl boss. She's just girl bossing. She's just living her truth. She assaulted someone. I think it's just I feel people aren't understanding. It is a fictional story, but it is a metaphor. And this same person goes on to talk about how Cody from Redacted Audio, the one who assaults Freelancer, again, has no remorse, is a terrible person. If you're saying that about Cody, you've got to say that about Alexis. There's just the weird she's not girl bossing. She's not she's a bad person. She's a terrible person. And it's just you have to be so careful about how you phrase these things, because there's someone else on Tumblr who said, oh, I really like Alexis. I like how she's written. I like Alexis. And people were you shouldn't like Alexis. Alexis is a terrible person. Yeah, she is a terrible person. But I understood what that person was trying to say. I understood they were trying to say, I like how she is written. People, however, weren't so, clued in on that context. But it just made me realize, it was also just kind of obvious that they were talking about how they like how Alexis is written. There's no problem with that. I like how Alexis is written. Oh, well, there are some ways that she's portrayed that I don't particularly like, but that's just my opinion. But this user has gone on to say any criticism that they face towards Alexis is misogynistic, and that you're attacking female characters. No. She's a horrible person. I'd say the same thing about Marcus. I'd say the same thing about Cody. I have said the same thing about both of them. But Alexis is such an interesting character because of the way that she's portrayed by the fandom. She is a terrible person, and she, deserves to have, to not be able to talk to Sam, not be able to, interact, not be able to invoke. That is the appropriate reaction to anything involving Alexis. She should not be able to interact with the people she's hurt. And I've seen multiple people ship her with their own OCs, which she, assaulted someone. She is, I don't know how else, I don't know how else to, explain this, and then also, and then there's another, I don't remember if it's the same person, but they had said that, someone said, didn't Alexis rape Sam, right, metaphorically, and they were the person said, oh, well, they were in a kind of friends with benefits situation. That doesn't excuse what she did. Someone said, prior sexual history or relationships doesn't make consent disappear or sexual assault in relationships less real. It's really harmful to push. The impact of her choice isn't less excusable because she knew Sam, and in my opinion, it makes it worse. I agree with that. It does make it worse because she knew. He did not want to be turned. He explicitly said that. He said that multiple times. She ignored that because that is what she wanted. She wanted Sam to be turned. And people excuse that because, she was doing it for the person she loved. That if she really loved him, she would have let him die. And I will say that until the day I die. She really loved him, she would have let him die. She did not have his best interest in mind. She wanted what she wanted. And in doing that, she ruined their relationship. And that is her fault. Her fault. And, it just makes me mad when people are just oh, well, she wasn't thinking clearly in the moment. She probably wasn't. But still, if she had that level of love and care for someone, she wouldn't have done it. She was selfish. She was selfishly thinking. She shows no remorse. She still doesn't care. She still doesn't feel bad. And it's just do you actually know what you're talking about? Did you actually listen to any of, it's just gross and annoying. It's just I don't understand why some of the people in the fandom feel oh, well, I'm gonna ship her with my OC. This is a great idea. I'm gonna have Toxic Yuri with Alexis. No, she's a terrible person. And that's another thing I need to talk about. Just the overwhelming amount of times people will see a terrible character, ship them with an innocent character, and call it a toxic Yuri, toxic yaoi, toxic relationship. That's not something you should be. That's just not something you should be looking up to. I know not all media is for everyone to consume. That makes sense. But it gets to a point when it starts to become an obsession or sometimes kind of like a fetish. We saw it with Heated Rivalry. I'm not in the Heated Rivalry fandom, but from what I saw, it was a lot of straight women just fetishizing gay men. And obviously, that's weird. That's wrong. You should not be doing that. And it just kind of downplays how a community is seen, how relationships are seen in the LGBTQ plus community, especially when it comes to toxic characters. That is something that I will never shut up about. People will ship. I saw this one person who, this is just someone who you need to go back and either listen to the series or you just need to get offline. Alexis x Tank I don't think, and they said toxic Yuri of Alexis X Tank. Alexis assaulted someone. Tank is a victim, not of Alexis, but still a victim. Shipping them together is wrong on so many levels. It's just like, you cannot reduce every character that you like to a relationship. I hate that. That is something, and also, it's just like, it starts to get to a point where it's just like, I don't understand why you feel the need. So many female characters in all types of media that are villains get reduced to like evil lesbians, okay? I don't know how else to put it. And so, still, like, same with like male characters, although I don't see it as much. But toxic Yuri. Can we have an evil character, an evil female character who is not reduced to a lesbian relationship? I don't care if you headcanon Alexis as being bi or now lesbian. I don't care. Your reason to headcanon a character as being a lesbian or as being gay should not be because you want them in a toxic relationship, until it gets to be an obsession where you start wanting this relationship and you stop realizing it's fictional and it's a situation I have control over because it's in my head. Once it translates to real life, you stop having control over what both parties are saying and both parties are feeling, because it's not something you're writing. These are real people. Obviously, it's just bad. It's bad. And I'll see it, like, I see it a lot within, like, the redacted fandom. Like, for example, I saw Marcus and Dan. Both of these people are abusers. Both of these people take advantage of vulnerable people who want help. And you've reduced them to toxic yaoi, completely erasing the fact that these people have, on multiple occasions, abused and created horrible fantasies for vulnerable people to live out, and you've reduced them to a dumb ship. It's just abuse. It's just abuse, and it's gross and it's weird, and it makes me so mad when I see complicated characters. Marcus is a complicated character. We don't know as much about Dan, but we know about Marcus. Marcus abuses people for money and for the fact that he knows he can do it. He abuses people because he likes the fact that he has power over vulnerable people seeking help. Dan does the same thing, although we don't know how many people he's done the same thing to, and we don't know the same type of, like, the same level of abuse that he's put people through. We do know that Marcus does the same thing, but it could be different. It could be worse. It could be less worse. That doesn't change the fact that it's still happening, and you're taking these complex aspects of these characters and just reducing them into a funny gay ship. It's so damaging because, number one, it just completely downplays the stuff victims went through. And yes, I know it's fictional, I know I'm getting heated over this, but I don't care. It happens in all media, and this is not just about freaking redacted audio, okay? You're downplaying victims. You're reducing two characters to a sexuality that you find attractive. And it's just like, these are abusive people. They will abuse each other in that relationship. It's going to happen. They will abuse each other. And that is why it's so just agitating to like watch. I mean, you just know the type of characters that you're putting together. You know the types of things that they've done. And you're choosing to reduce them to a toxic gay relationship. And for what? What do you gain out of this? You gain just, again, toxic stereotypes. And you just like, it's just for you. Another thing I saw, someone said, Dan, Marcus, Scammer Yowie. And in the tags they said, is it really a scam if you get results? The results are obtained through abuse of a vulnerable person seeking help. That's weird and insensitive to say. If someone said, oh, I have a headache, and I beat them over the head with a book until they died, well, you don't have a headache anymore. You got results. They should not have been obtained that way. I just caused someone, I've damaged other people's lives, and just like damaged the life of the person that asked me for help. Obviously, that's a pretty extreme, like, analogy, but still, like, it's in that scenario with Dreamer and Marcus, more people than just Dreamer were affected. Sometimes I just feel like people don't actually understand or what they're, like, consuming in terms of media. Another one, who's shipping Toxic Yowie, Cody, and Marcus? Cody. Right. Cody and Marcus. Marcus, someone who repeatedly abuses people. Cody, someone who stalks and assaults someone. And the reason why I say stalk is because of the fact that in order to, like, the whole attack that Cody did on Freelancer when he assaulted them, that whole attack was so planned. It was so calculated. He knew, he sounded so confident with everything he was saying. And it makes me wonder, either he was stalking them or he's done the same thing before. Two people who assaulted vulnerable people are being shipped together and reduced, again, to Toxic Yowie. It's getting out of hand to the point where it's not just, oh funny, Toxic Yowie, it's funny. It's not funny because it's just starting to get to a point where it seems like a fetish. Call me woke for this. Call me too woke for this. It just seems like you like seeing queer people in pain and in abusive, toxic, harmful relationships. And that's just what it seems like. That's what it feels like from the outside, from someone who, I mean, like, I've seen this in basically every fandom. But here it means so much more to me because of the fact that in the context of Redacted verse, you are putting yourself or a character that you've created, so obviously there's going to be a piece of you in that character. You're putting that character through all of this, right? Then, after that character that you've created, that character or your self-insert that you've created has gone through all of this trauma at the hands of abusers, you turn and ship them with another abuser. Either your self-insert character, you ship them with an abuser, or you ship two abusers together. And that's crazy to me. That is weird and just insensitive and gross. And here's a good example. Blake, he's a villain. He is portrayed as evil. But he's portrayed in two different lights. From Sunshine and Elliot's perspective, and then from his partner's perspective, okay? His partner obviously knows he's doing something messed up. Blake knows he's doing something terrible, right? But he thinks this is the only option he has in order to save his partner. It makes sense that people think, oh, that's romantic. I mean, I don't think that, because I don't, condone torturing people for, if someone was doing all that for me, I'd say you're doing a little too much. I didn't really want you to hold someone captive and repeatedly threaten and forcefully put them to sleep on multiple occasions just for me. But some people are into that. And you know what? That is way less extreme than shipping two fists together. Okay? And I see it with, a big example of this would be the mouth-washing fandom. That is something I will never, I'm glad I'm not a part of that anymore. I mean, obviously I wasn't shipping that, but I'm glad I'm not a part of the fandom anymore. Because the amount of people I would see being like, oh, well, Jimmy's hot. No, in my opinion, he's not. Because when a character does something so unforgivable, such as assault or rape, they become unattractive in my eyes. It's just immediately he's gross, he's a creep, he's a predator, he's a rapist, and people will excuse that because they think he's attractive. And I've seen it happen with Marcus and Cody and Alexis. Now Blake is a different story. Someone has said, I really like this comment, by the way, I'm only reading the last bit of it, but I will link the post in the description so you can read the full thing by yourself. But so at the end of the post, they said, Marcus is a calculating serial predator, quite possibly a more terrifying example of how scary dreamwalkers can be, even more so than Blake, because Blake did what he did to Sunshine because he thought he had to. Marcus does it because he can. That is the truth. Blake did what he did because he thought, not he had to, he thought he had to. Marcus repeatedly abuses people because he has the ability to, because he tricks people, vulnerable people, and makes them think he can help them. And just having Marcus be reduced to a gay ship, toxic gay ship, for your own enjoyment is weird and gross and not okay. And there are so many other healthier ways to I don't even know how I'm getting so upset about this. I'm losing track of my thoughts. But it just it gets to a point of just I feel like some people just don't really understand what they're talking about, and they're more interested in audios for the romance part instead of the story-driven plot, which I guess go ahead and do that. But you shouldn't. Some characters, Marcus is supposed to be, you're supposed to hate him. He's a terrible person. Cody, you're supposed to hate him. He's a terrible person. Alexis, she's a terrible person. You're supposed to hate her. If you want, there are so many other places you can go for non-story driven romance. And you choose people who have assaulted and abused and manipulated multiple people as the object of your interest. You need to realize, it is fictional. It is fictional. I understand that. But it is a metaphor for real world things that can happen. Real world things. And that's why I think it bothers me so much. In the case of real world, and this is going to be a pretty extreme example. If someone did terrible, unforgivable things to you, and then later you see someone else being like, oh, well, he's hot, so are you really that upset about it? I would be livid. That's not something you say. Like, this is someone who has caused you pain. Someone who's put you through pain, put you through hell. And it is dismissed because they are attractive. Is that not messed up? And that is just my biggest point. Think of all of these things that these terrible characters have done in a real world context, because it has been confirmed. All of the metaphors, like bridging Marcus's dreamscape and unconsensual turning, that one is so obvious, quite literally unconsensual. And these are all metaphors for assault and rape and manipulation and coercion. This is not an okay thing to be doing. These are all things that happen in real life, and they're being reduced to toxic queer ships. And just like think about that for a little bit, because it's, the more you think about it, the more you realize this is messed up. This is something that needs to stop. This is out of hand, because any fandom, I'm not in the Alien stage fandom, but I have heard of Ivan Till, or like, I know that there was, I guess, a kiss between them that was unconsensual, but people will use that as, oh, Ivan Till, like, canon. And that's another reason I didn't really get into it, because you can see how upset I am about this. I don't want to involve myself in more of that. And like, just fandoms and shows being reduced. I talked to my friend about this the other day. She's telling me about Madoka Magica, I think that's what it's, or whatever, Madoka. She's telling me about that, and how it's reduced in media to just doomed Yuri, when there's obviously heavier themes going on. And she also brought up Utena, where Anthy is being abused by multiple people. And yes, in the end, in the long run, you're supposed to ship Utena and Anthy, because that is the pairing. But at first, they are not in a healthy relationship. Anthy's being abused by everyone around her. Oh, toxic Yuri. It is toxic, but that's not something you should be romanticizing. That is an important point. Their relationship being toxic at the beginning, and them learning to be healthier in a lesbian relationship, because healthy lesbian and gay relationships do exist. I hear more about toxic yaoi, toxic Yuri, than I ever hear about healthy LGBTQ relationships. Well, you're just not looking in the right places. I promise you I am, and I see so much more of just, oh, toxic this, toxic that. You're missing the point of everything. And like, it's getting to a point where it just seems like you don't really care about the media, and you just want it to be your own little fantasy of pain and suffering. Go write your own angst, okay? Don't use two victims of assault and rape and abuse and manipulation. Okay, any character in general should not be shipped with a rapist, but especially a character who has been raped and assaulted and manipulated and coerced to do things with their body that they did not want done, or did not have a clear say in. It's just like, I feel it's common sense to know that, but it's so lost in people just wanting a relationship that they can control and insensitivity towards victims. And that will translate into the real world, where it gets to someone coming out with their testimony about being abused or assaulted or raped, and it gets to a point where someone is like, well, I mean, at least you got some. That is a victim. That is someone who is a victim of multiple counts of abuse. And you're boiling it down to, oh, well, this person is attractive, and I'm excusing it because I think they're attractive. You should know better. You should know better. Yeah, it did get kind of heavy at sometimes, but thanks for watching. I don't know when I'm uploading next because I leave for college on Thursday and it is Wednesday. So, thank you. And this is gonna take hella long to edit because it is 40 minutes. Okay, goodbye.